Well,
in that.
we're watching the pros today. That's the real joy of
Mm,
this job. First Swain ban of the tournament so far, which is very interesting to see. That Viego priority we saw from Solary and a lot of other teams is that's a very heavy priority.
nice.
Jin, first time we're seeing Jin as well. The Lilia is a champion we saw Yike play in game one. It's a champion that's picking up a little bit more favor, even more favor on the next patch. Interesting to see because some of the champions obviously were taken, not a load of champions were taking away from the jungle pecking order. Obviously, Viego being taken off the table now. Gwen, more of a top laner, the Wukong being taken as well. It's interesting to see the Lilia as well.
Okay, so Kai'Sa locked in for Azza here. This is with a Nautilus pairing, so they've got this slightly aggressive bot lane. If Vitality B look to match here, they can certainly find a bit of I'd say a bit of power down in this bot side. Kai'Sa in the early stages, not the strongest AD carry, where Jin actually has some really decent trade patterns if you can use that fourth shot effectively. So we need to see what they look to lock in here down in this bot lane with Jack Troll to see if they want to go toe to toe with this Kai'Sa Nautilus bot lane or if they want to play a bit more safe, a little bit disengage oriented, and they've gone for more overarching team fight style with the Rakan coming through. It's going to be a pick that doesn't necessarily give them all of the ability through the laning phase, but will do more than enough to segue Yeskler into a good late game position to be a bit of a source of CC, bit of a source of lighter damage, and using the curtain call and such to set up for what I expect to be two very hard carries coming out of the solo lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to see the bans as well taking away that Ornn. They want to get away from some of this engage that they might not be able to get for themselves. But the composition that Vitality B have built so far, for me, it speaks to a team that has setup, it has CC. What do they need from their solo lanes here?
Yeah, they need the damage, and that fits perfectly with Vitality Beast Agenda, one of the best carry players that we have in the LFL. Is really going to
Clinical
be
yesterday.
exactly right, played to a fault with the top lane, and he's going to be hopefully a PowerPoint of this Vitality B squad, whether they look to blind pick for him or save his counter or save for him that answer and get him R5. The Lissandra ban means that you're likely going to see that Ari come through, right? That we saw yesterday a few times, and the on just something that they can try to take off the table means that you have a bit more ability to punish. There is still that Scion as a blind pick. If we're expecting Vitality to take their mid laner here, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, just like you said here, expecting to see the Ari blind, obviously taking Alessandro off the table, very telegraphed there. Probably looking for that Shigenda carry R5 pick. So you see Solary as well taking the Aurelia, taking the action off the board. Stuff like the Camille still available, might be seeing him pivot to that. Be interesting to see if they blind. Interesting.
Okay, means that they might have something a little bit spicier planned for their mid lane pickup. And what they have so far is actually a really good set of poke. I mean, another Zoe pick here wouldn't be tremendously awful if you are Vitality B. We've seen Diplex play that in the past. We can certainly expect that Zoe to come through, and it's had a lot of priority so far today. Would not be surprised to see it stolen away. Scarlet picks that one up, and they've also got themselves some fairly nice long range damage for the most part. And well, here we go, everybody. Graves, it's normally a flex pick, but we've got Pride Month out. Graves, not a jungler today. He's a top.
Ooh, that's a, I don't. Well, do I allow that?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's allowed. It's allowed. And it's gonna be the R5 from Jack Troll here. Not for Jack Troll, for Jigenda. No, for mid. What am I saying? You've really thrown me off with that one, Rude Dude. I was not
Nothing.
expecting that one
It's nothing. It's
at
just
all.
Ari, mid lane. Classic. They
Yeah.
just threw in Gangplank because they wanted it.
I don't know why. What was really the utility of this? Do you think we spoke about how it was potentially going to be the case that Ari was looking to be a different champion, maybe with a bit more spice, and they preserved the counter pick for it? But they obviously telegraphed the Ari as well. Do you
I
think they
guess
were just looking to see what the enemy mid lane matchup was?
yeah, just can just be a I don't want to play my spicy pick into Zoe. You don't need to know what it is. They can save it for a later date. They still have a really nice mid matchup. Zoe was their blind of choice here for Solari, and we have seen Zoe have some fairly good showings in its own right. But Diplex going to take the Arian with this composition that Vitality have drafted. They've got a lot of pick and also that team fight capability of a GP never going to go understated.
We spoke about how important it was for Vitality B to have conditions that are clause met and sealed, signed, delivered in this early game. Do they have the tools to achieve this against the Solari team?
I think so. I think that they can fairly easily that for Solari here, they're going to be looking fairly early on to get players going. They've got the Zoe who at level 6 is going to be not necessarily enabled by her ulti, but you can get a lot more going with that pole jump and the extended range on the Q for more damage. You have Kai'Sa Nautilus in the bot lane who tend to want to find some fairly aggro plays if they can. Obviously can be fairly difficult due to Kai'Sa's limited capability but being short range in the early stages. And then they've also got this power point in the top lane. Honestly, this Graves is expected to find push for the most part, and then should be able to move through the rest of the game with some fairly decent lanes.
Yeah, I think you've completely painted the picture of how I expect this game to go, at least. Speaking of expectations, we're expecting to see you very shortly after a brief video. Don't go anywhere. We've got a cinematographer in for this one, Mr. Rude Dude. Nice little shot. Slightly different one than what we're used to. Seeing them
No
from a
Boris.
no Boris, unfortunately, but not a fan of him anyway. He's
He's
we keep
featured.
yeah, he's featured. He's what do you call that? He's a wide pan or whatever. I don't know.
Sure. I didn't do any photography studying in my life.
Well, I'm hoping for a picture perfect finish from Vitality B here.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's just use any segues that we can. That was nice, actually.
Yeah.
Level one
Uh,
ward. Are we bringing back the meme? We've
oh
got
my god,
steel
yes.
back.
Well, the game has already won for Solary in this case. We spoke about the importance of the level 1 ward. You basically hyped it up to be
I think it's
quite
Gangplank matchups. I'm 90% sure it's
the
just.
ward of all wards is what you described that ward yesterday
I
as.
did not.
You did.
Did not say those words.
Pretty sure quoting you verbatim, but in any case, speaking of verbatim, are things going to play out? How are things going to play out for Solari in this early game? You can see they're playing towards this top side. The Graves is obviously a champion. Not seeing it, you don't see it a lot. You see it a lot more in jungle nowadays. How does it operate? Does it operate any differently in the solo lane?
I think it operates similar or different to jungle, same as it always did in top lane. It's looking to just be a constant source of pushing power for Solari. You're hoping to keep it, fairly nicely maintained, and uh, you're hoping to see the wave nicely maintained underneath Vitality B's turret. It opens up Joko to move into that top lane, move into the top side jungle, and constantly try and harass Skeens, who on this Lilia, granted, skirmishing power early on of a Lilia not the greatest, but she should be fairly healthy, so you do tend to need a little bit of help if you want to send Joko into the fight.
Traditionally, Lilia seen as a champion. You're going to go for that full clear. You're going to go rather fast. Actually, has one of the more fast clears in the game. Should see him nice little pan into the jungle here. See him walking away from the Gromp. Should be a bit faster than this Viego. Traditionally, Viego not exactly a slow clear himself, but Lilia definitely with that passive movement speed, able to get through the jungle rather quickly. It should be the case that tempo does transition into some leads over the map, but it's just a case of where those are going to come from for Vitality B.
Yeah, and with Skeens being faster up toward that top side, there is a world where there's a potential for Keo to get ganked. Was a bit of a weak spot for Solari in game number one, but there's a nice ward down, spots out Skeens, and it gives a little bit of a timing for Keo. He knows now that Skeens is on the top side, doesn't necessarily need to be careful now, but from the next 10, 15 seconds, he's already got that ward down preliminarily to make sure that everything's all good.
It's going to be him keeping the passive here. Nice little trick on the Lilia. You can stack the passive on the red, move towards the Krugs. It's going to mean he's a bit closer to this to this top side of the map. He's going to get spotted out by a ward if he does opt into going towards that. But he's just going to circle back to the red for now. It's a very slow, controlled game. In the first
Thought you could try and go through the lane. When you have that Lilia movement speed, you can actually just deceptively run at people. And
Mm.
that's not necessarily a gank angle that you expect if you are Keo. It doesn't have that ward down to protect it, but it's not going to be the case at either end. Just going to be the red buff taken. Let's see. It's going to be a skipped camp for Jocko. Skips out on that Gromp to get into that top side grab, and potentially with the basing of his mid laner could look to go for that bot side one as well, but instead defaults back to the Viego into his jungle and going to pick up that Gromp instead.
Yeah, it's going to circle back to that Gromp. It does mean that he's a little bit behind on tempo. Expect Lilia to move towards this bot side camp. It's going to be having that Gromp spawning in. And around about 30 seconds or so, normally the 4:15, 4:18 mark is when that second Gromp is coming up. And in that case, nothing really achieved. Both junglers obviously pathing for this top side, but both top lane is relatively safe thus far.
No overall advantages generated just yet. And it's when we start to talk about who's got that better late game scaling. When we have these timid early stages, nobody particularly making too many moves, you want to look at who's going to be looking to scale up better on. And honestly, I think that both sides have got those late game power points. We have double marksman from Solari. We've got the Zoe as well to use that pick potential that we know that she's got. And then on
Mm.
the other side, you have got a nice long range composition from Vitality B. Jeskla can use that curtain call to start up picks, can use Ari as well to dash forward in tandem with Jeskla's sort of deadly flourish potential to catch one person, two people potentially out of bounds. And when you have that swirl seed as well, the long range pick potential
Ooh,
certainly
it's a
there.
nice little hook from Steelback. W in return, though. Counter engage from Jack Troll means that the 4-shot does go down. Ignites are traded a piece. Cleanse as well, and the heal. 4
Skeens
summoners.
just snuck in
Ooh.
here. This is going to be a 3v3.
This could be very good for Vitality B. Jester does get hooked up here. He's going to be going very low. Does flash away here. Skeens does a lot of damage. Going to be doing a lot of damage on the counter engage. Cattroll tries to find something. Skeens farming. Passive up. Rotating it up.
And everybody flashes. We still have Azza with flash. We still have Schemes with flash. But Jeskla and Steelback both have to burn their flashes there. You can see Jeskla sort of taunting the Nautilus and saying, I kind of need to get hooked if we're trying to make a play here because otherwise they're going to not go for too much of an engagement,
Mm.
not too much commitment. And, has to burn flash, has to burn heal, ultimately to not get anything. So it does feel a little bit bad for Jeskla specifically. Solary, I'd say coming out on top of that play, they still have flash on Azza, who needs to be very careful in the early stages, trying to get into the late game Kai'Sa power spikes.
At the risk of mischaracterizing it, which is why I'm going to throw to you here, the Rakan Nautilus matchup, traditionally, who is it? Is it a case of whoever goes in first wins, or is it one of those ones where like you need to wait out for the enemy engage and then counter engage?
I dare say it's waiting out. I think that one of the better examples that we got to see was in the game with Rax. So in level 2, level 1, level 2 yesterday, where he was playing that Rakan versus Nautilus matchup and ended up getting taken out because he was the one to engage too swiftly on the Nautilus. I think it could go either way. Really does depend on that execution. As a Steelback, obviously up in this top lane right now, has got Gyoko here as well. Sagenda looking to try and hold a freeze if possible. But there's everybody and their parents just up in this top lane right now, making sure that their top laners can get the farm or get the crash.
Everybody at their parents. Is it take your parents to the Rift Day or whatever?
Oh, apparently we've got Rakan and Lilia up on one side, uh, Nautilus and Viego on the other. So yeah, seems likely. Two extra members in the top lane, given this island strategy.
Yeah,
Parents seem
you've
to know.
you've you've caused me some like major trauma there because like thinking of my parents in any sort of League of Legends context just immediately reminds me of uh buying RP on my phone and then my dad finding out that I was using my phone to do that and then like bringing up the bill. My dad like ran into my room one time when I was like 14 or something and he was just like, "What is League of Legends? And why is there $200 £200 fee for?"
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean the
I'm
the
I,
real concern is why were you
I'm
spending
trauma.
$200 on skins?
It was
Honestly,
over a course of time, but I'm trauma dumping in any
okay.
case. I think we need to get really back into the grips of it. We're seeing some priority here. Skeens is here to respond to this. Steelback gets engaged on rather aggressively, but they are able to crash this wave.
Lilia has
Skeens has a
sleep.
6 here. Sleep is not going to get primed here. It can be the case that they just use the minion team out to clear out some of this wave.
All right, bubble hits actually.
Oh, bubble over the wall. Scarlet does not see red in the water. Jack Troll is going to be able to walk away here with his life.
Free flash secured though, and Scarlet was
Just so many flashes this game.
yeah, a lot of colors, not a
Diplex
lot of
over the wall
kills.
here. Doesn't manage to get the Q2. Can't really go for that all in
No, and it's a good little chunk. But burns another corrupting stack, but overall, not the biggest deal, particularly when we're looking at fairly unmagic damage oriented items thus far. Kyo and Sagenda battling out on this top side, and it's actually Sagenda who's slightly up in farm at the moment, but it has been Kyo largely who's establishing control over the wave, which is what we mentioned the Graves wants to do.
Yeah, you see this as being more of a stabilizing pick. I think it's a good idea in terms of you saw Vitality B yesterday really crack the game open. Shigenda basically cracking open the skull of the opposition, being able to play through him, and he was enabled a lot by Jack Troll. Not really the case this game. We're 8 minutes in now. Solary able to kind of capitulate a lot, pick up this first Rift Herald, and it's going a lot better for them.
So yeah, like you say, so far it is certainly an improvement at the very least from what we got to see from them just yesterday. Still down a little bit in gold, and that's just in owing to largely, I'd imagine, the Gangplank passive at this point. There's a slight CS lead in the jungle and the bot lane, but those aren't too much to really write home about. But remember that Parlay from GP, if you do last hit minions with it, does give you a little bit of bonus gold, similarly to that TF passive, if you want to draw some comparisons.
Arr, the pirates. The gold acquisition. Do you miss some of the gold? The gold generation items back in the day. I
Yes.
suppose it's kind of coming back with the spectral cow, not spectral cow. What's the spectral sickle or whatever it's called?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do miss them. Avarice Blade was my favorite item.
Ooh, I remember. What was the? It was like a turtle shell thing. What was that called?
Heart of Gold?
Heart of Gold, I think might be it. But if that's wrong, someone in chat will have been playing this game long enough to
I
remember.
didn't play back in the Heart of Gold days. I'm remembering off of, I guess at this point, just canon, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. You've heard old adages
Yeah, exactly.
of the great generation of gold
Yeah.
generation.
I remember Avarice Blade. That was always nice.
Oh,
Avarice Blade
Shigenda might
Ash.
look a bit aggressively here. Gets the barrel here.
He's
He's going to
dead.
flash forward.
Get
Parley
it!
is going to mean ultimate. One more Q will do it. That's going to be first blood for
Orange.
Shigenda.
Nicely done. The solo bolo in the top lane. Lucidity boots and a Sheen is all you need to battle against a Graves. Really good execution on the barrel mechanics, and Sagenda living up to that hype. One of our best carry top laners finds the solo kill in a 1v1.
Yeah, we spoke about how this Graves needs to operate as that stabilizer within this competition. Very nice graphic. Graves clutches his grave on the floor there as he descends back into the base. And very crucial, like I was just saying, this Graves is really a stabilizer in terms of not allowing Shigenda to run away with the game like he's known to do. With this first kill now and accelerating the matchup, is this a
That's
major
out the
problem for
window.
Solary? Yeah.
Yeah, it's out the window. I mean, Sagenda's just going to be able to walk all over this Graves from now on. You kind of have to use your quick draw to get out of any barrel combos, but if Sagenda's, wise to the play, there's potential for triple barrels for one parts. There's a lot of tools open to Sagenda to make these plays happen.
Agenda's agenda certainly to run over the game at this point, building towards his first mythic. His first, implying there's a second mythic item.
I'll get my
There is.
second mythic. Yeah.
Oh, gee, I'll just get my second and third mythic. Why not? Very greedy, but he's going to be getting his first and only mythic very soon. Piling towards that power spike. It is nice to see Vitality B pick up that Ocean Dragon as well, as they are setting up a slight win condition for themselves, or potentially stalling a win
Mm.
condition that might crop up for Solari.
Yeah, what I'd like to see from the Vitality V top planer, I don't think that he needs any help in his build path. But if I may predict a little, this is a composition from Solari that is incredibly squishy, right? This is one where crit's going to go a long way. You can expect to see that Infinity Edge fourth item most likely when you dial over to that 60% crit strike, and you've got the likes of potentially a Collector, Lord Dom's, one of those two likely to come through. And when you're up against a Graves, you can see this is a very high lifesteal, or not already, but you're likely to be a high lifesteal build coming through, particularly with the Eclipse potential for Bloodthirst.
Oh, Joko's in the bush here onto Jack Troll. He should be able to get away, but he's going to get stunned up. Nautilus ult, you'd expect it to be coming out any second now. Not quite able to get it in the end.
Now, in fairness, it was pressed to begin with, but Rakan's
Yeah.
so darn slippery that it just takes forever to get to him.
Shigenda might be able to find kill here, but he's getting circled here by Joko and Stillback. Going to be able to find a hook onto him. He's getting very bursted out here, but can he be found? He can. Zoe Bubble does prime in the passive, so Joko will not be found in return. Kill onto Shigenda. We talked about he was the man. Falters at the 12-minute mark, goes down for a death. And must I say, only 2 deaths in the game, but it did feel like I was deaf in both ears. Nice to have the game sound back. Joko has to flash out from the engage. Rakan gonna get stunned up here. Nautilus ult. Q doesn't quite manage to prime it. Scarlet tries to flash over the wall. Can't quite manage to find Jack Troll in the back of that.
Wow, close here on the top side. They do take down Sagenda, and that does alleviate a lot of the pressure that Kia will have been feeling on that top lane. But it's still not fixed, I guess. You can see Vitality B still have that slight gold lead, and I think that the issue with Gangplank is that once he starts rolling, it doesn't ever stop. It becomes more and more difficult to prevent a Gangplank from going off in the late game. The later he gets, so all of these little gold injections that he got earlier on are all just fairly terrifying. It's a bit akin to a Kale, if I may, that, it's not necessarily 16 and then you've done. More Gangplank is a level 13 power spike, which, for those that don't know, is when his barrel timings really quieten down. They get much shorter, and you can start to go for these really rapid barrel combos onto champions. So once you ding that level 13 marker, expect Sagenda to be really trying to alleviate pressure in the top lane, in the side lanes, and help out the team.
I don't think quieten down is really the phrasing you want to use for that Gangplank, because rest
No,
assured,
cool down.
with this Shigenda Gangplank pick, it's going to be a very loud affair once we get to that level 13 mark. I think look to him to be able to set up a lot of crowd. I say crowd control, but creating a lot of space with these ultimates, doing a lot of damage with these barrels, depending on what itemization he goes for later. For me, at least, crit, hoping. Praying and
Has
hoping.
to be. And I think that you can sort of see firsthand the pressure that Sagenda does have up here. He's always making Keo back away, even though he's holding an entire wave in his face. But for the next sort of 5 minutes or so, we're expecting this mid game to really start to break open. We've got a Drake spawning in about 2 minutes' time. Potentially, Sagenda looks to break open first brick on a window where Keo goes down to that bot lane. You can see that Keo has to burn, or had to burn, TP to get back up to the top side of the map just to try and keep in pace with the gangplank so far. And we're getting to the point where, we talked about objectives.
Azza has cleanse, has flash. He's not going to be able to use much of it. Jessler's under the turret here, going to be getting Nautilus ulted under the turret. W does land. Can they find him? Azza very much alone here. Gangplank ult goes wide. Jack Troll flashes forward. That should be the finishing blow. Jessica gets a kill from a slight misposition. Azza.
Yeah, and you have to try and flash the initial Rakan engagement there, unfortunately. It can be incredibly difficult. I'm not saying that it's easy, but the only real way out of that is flashing the charm knockup. And unfortunately, unable to do so. Azza doesn't get away, and also flashes toward his turret as opposed to towards Steelback. Into the back to a nice body block to get him away. That's a really crucial pick on the bot side of the map. That just opens up so much now for Vitality B for this next couple minutes, where they now have a much easier route into the jungle of Solary. If they want to try and set up vision down in that bot side, they can create that vision coverage that you like to see prior to a Drake being taken. And with all of their resets coming at pretty much the right time, they're going to go back onto the map with complete control, with max capacity in their items.
Has to use the ultimate here. A nice little setup from Stillback there to get that out. It's not going to be a tool they can utilize for the Dragon. We speak about Vitality B being this mid-game monster team, and lo and behold, we've arrived in the mid-game, that 3,000 gold lead. Should Solary be scared?
Yep, they should. I think that there's always a world where Azza and Kai'Sa can go for these, miracle ADC plays, and always that world where Scarlet can try and find those picks onto backline targets, but the issue with trying to find a bubble onto Sagenda is he has his own built cleanse that can stop that bubble from coming through. And given that Sagenda is quite the target to be going for, it's going to be fairly difficult for Solary to get there. To get there, Zoe really
Joko's looking. Doesn't quite manage to find it. In counter engage, means that Jack Troll's engage is responded to by Joko's ultimate.
Secured of the Dragon. Second Drake goes over. The Inferno's blazing, coming onto the Rift now. Infernal Soul for both of these teams will be very important. They've got, carries in every role except for their supports. We may see Vitality be a little overextended. Steelback maybe looking for that play, but not going to be able to find it. Jocko back off for safety. Now moving forward, right, we've got that attention slightly going to turn towards that top side.
Ooh, Jack Troll gets engaged on. Ultimate going to be coming out any second now.
Yeah, trying to engage onto a Rakan is always really difficult.
Yeah.
He's got his own engage tools that can just act as disengage. He has Battle Dance as well if anybody's nearby. So wise of Steelback to not commit the depth charge. Has sort of run the risks of that one once before this game, and quite wisely doesn't pull the trigger again.
Well, you see, that's why Steelback is better support than me. That's why I'm not in the LFL. I'm just casting it. I would have probably ulted there. That's just because I'm bad. Shigenda uses the ultimate here onto Kiao. Kiao, the sacrificial lamb, once again, perhaps. Gets charmed and knocked up. The sleep is available if needed. Flash forward from Skeens, all but seals the deal. Kiao goes down for a second death of the game.
There we go. Second kill for Sagenda, and it may seem like we're really hyping up this for what has been a fairly quiet game for Sagenda so far, but we're expecting big things later on, and we have to build that expectation up so that everybody knows when these barrel combos start to hit on 2, 3, 4 people, even if it is just 2 important targets of Solary, that these were the steps that were taken by Vitality B to set Sagenda up for such success.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about how this is a team that really likes to enable and play through Shigenda. That has been the name of the day. It's been, through the course of this game, been very much a thematic presence. Jack Troll trying to find Scarlet here, potentially in the bot side. Can't quite manage it. Scarlet able to dash away a little bit. Skip and a jump will blow him to safety. And what is the name of the game for Solary? How do they find a way back? They kind of get away from what is a 4,000 gold lead.
They have to kind of play with Scarlet. I really think that using the pick potential of their composition is going to be their way back to success. They've got depth charge. They've got this Kai'Sa who can jump onto a target from Fog of War with that ultimate. They've got as well Scarlet who can dish out large range damage from like the away and start it off quite nicely. If they can't use that pick composition, then they're going to really struggle this game. Keo's sort of I guess, condition and the style that he wanted to be playing to is that split push, and he can't do that when he's up against Agenda because Agenda just wins the 1v1. The best case that you could hope for is that potentially you could send Keo into the opposite side lane, but even at that rate, Diplex is never going to go down to this Graves. He's also just going to slowly struggle his way through clearing waves.
Yeah, with you on that. Seems to be the case that Vitality B dedicating some pressure up towards this top side. The Rift Herald has come out. He's going to be pushing in that top lane. Jackal's found an engage. And an ultimate onto Jocko. Maybe a little bit overzealous there. Scarlet goes in. Last second of charm there. Managed to find him. He's going to be slept here. But Jocko has to ult over the wall here as well. Diplex is in. Has
Diplex
one more ult available. That's a flash. He's going to have one more now. He finds Jocko as well. Diplex has decimated the front line of Solary, and we spoke about how it was important for them to keep their head in it. They give away 2-3 crucial kills even, and Vitality P are going to immediately pivot onto the Baron.
Okay, Azek, Keo, you have to go huge here. If Baron goes down, your game is all but over. What can you do?
What can they do? They can't really quite find the space. It's going very low now. Kiel tries to find a Q. Skeens going to have the passive movement speed. They're just going to say, thank you very much for the Baron. We're heading back to base. That is a stranglehold, decimating strike to the chances of Solary's position in this game.
Yeah, you're quite right. Solary's chances in the game just took a massive nosedive right there. Looking at the map we'll get to after this, but looking at the start of this play, I want to credit Skeens for this. Holds the Lilting Lullaby until he can catch out on 2. And he gets the sleep onto Scarlet in the back, and it stops the Zoe from pushing out that damage over the wall. It also enables Diplex to go over, wreak havoc on both Joko and Scarlet, and that is the lead deal really that enables the fight to go so well for them. And I do want to draw your attention to the map because we look at the turrets that have been taken by Vitality B. There's only 2. Those 2 are matched by Solary. And if you're looking at the amount of gold that's out across Summoner's Rift, Vitality B are already 6,500 gold up over their counterparts. If they can get all of these turrets, that gold lead is going to balloon even further up.
With Rude Dude. Regard, we're looking at a dragon spawning in. This could be the penultimate soul point for Vitality B. That could be an absolute tragedy. It would really force Solary's hand here. Scarlet trying to find an angle but can't quite manage it with the Baron. This is going to mean the tier 1 goes down. More of the map is going to start to open up for Vitality B. This is really where the Cobra starts to constrict for Solary. They're going to have less space to operate around the map in terms of their vision setups for these objectives. It's going to get more and more tricky. Diplex over the wall here, finds the charm onto Jocko. He's going to get taken down very low. The burn from Gangplank is going to let that be all but assured. Another kill and another dragon for Vitality B.
And likely another turret as well, Jake. They get another kill in the bot lane as well, very randomly. That's 2.
That's very strange. You almost didn't see that off to the side of the screen. Jester going to try and find a W over the side here. Steal back, block that. Block your man, try and find it, doesn't quite manage to. Steelback goes down as well. Scarlet gets hit with the final Jin shot as well. It's a mess, is the word, Rude Dude. An absolute fiesta for Solary, and they will not be awake during this time. They're having a siesta, they're having a sleep. Or sleeping at the wheel there. Big car crash for Solary.
Yep, all 5 members fall. They lose the dragon, they lose a bot lane tier 2, they lose turrets in the mid lane as well. And Vitality B just breaking the game open 1 by 1. This is the initial engagement where Diplex goes for Jocko. Able to almost ulti out to safety, but just on the edge of that cannon barrage does go down. The C-pot tick as well, helping quite nicely. And then there's just a continued engage. Diplex still has that ult ready to go. And a nice parlay from Sagenda. I mean, not too much to it, but gets it. As the dashes on forward, gets 1 kill, but that's always going to be a one-way trip. Almost gets out. Credit to Steelback for blocking the first 2, but then he tries to CC the Gangplank, and all of a sudden, those Jin shots are prepped and primed, ready to go. Scarlet also getting rooted under the turret at this point in the game. Not too much to say.
And we're right back into the action here. Skeens is going forward here. Rakan goes out. They try and find anything that they can. Skeens in the ultimate. Skeens in the Zhonya's, sorry. That's going to be Scarlet getting charmed up. Has the cleanse available. This could be a counter engage here, potentially. A Jocko trying to find a W.
Going too far.
Has a nice little sidestep, means the Jocko goes down. It's going to be Graves going down as well. Diplex forward. Steals, backs against the wall. Is Vitality B backing into Solary here? The lights are going out. Azza, can he be found at the end here? Not quite. 15-3. Decimation is occurring right now, and they are bulldozing through the base.
Really good team fighting on the top side from Vitality B. Solary extend just a bit too far, and they get caught out. They get punished, and now they're likely to lose their base. The inhibitor left alive, a story to tell its fellow teammates, I suppose, of the mercy that was given to it. But Vitality B secure some turrets, secure even more gold, and they're just running away with this game. Look at that gold deficit. I dare say, if 2 members of Vitality B weren't there, there would still be enough gold to match up against Solary.
Run the maths on that. That's not exactly the most outrageous thing I've ever heard. 14k at 24 minutes is quite insurmountable. It's a pretty insane amount of gold for them to have acquired at this point. It's going to be very difficult for Solary. I mean, you look at the 3-level gap in jungle, you look at the 2-level gap in the top lane. It's pretty much a 2-level gap all around the board in literally every single role. Very, very difficult. The Solary lights are completely dimming, and their chances in this game are as well.
And we're at that point now where it's not a case of how do Solary get back into the game. It's what can Vitality B do to let them back in. I think it has to be mistakes from Vitality B at this point. If you look for any sort of plays on Solary, the likelihood is that you are just going to get stat checked. You're just going to get item diffed and make sure and ultimately fall in the play. So the onus is on Vitality to lose this game at this point, as opposed to Solary trying to find a way to win it.
Yeah, that is indeed the case. Kiara just going to have to respond to a wave here. Diplex might be getting caught out here. Does have the ultimate available and the flash just about coming up. Teleport in response from Shigenda is going to staple some of these attempts. Shigenda is aggressive here. Shigenda has a counter engage with Jack Troll. The charm comes up. Jocko able to be found here. Azza is getting rained upon by the Jhin. Final curtain could be the final curtain of the game for Solary. Steelback is going to be getting taken out by Lilia on the side here. Diplex finds another crucial charm, goes into the Zhonya's here. Double kill for Jeskler. It's going to be another kill for Diplex, and the ace is found. 20-3, 25 minutes. That is indeed the final curtain. The chapter of week 1 closes on Solary, closes on their fingers. The car boot comes down. We can see this graphic. Slightly alternative. A little bit. Vitality coming out with a very strong week 1 performance in dominating fashion against Solary. That's strange. Jess looked like he had like 8 million arms there.
I think Jhin has 4, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah, he looked like he had about 8